you want. Now, let's put this in perspective. I said, you know, oh, by the way, I also taught at St. John's University American Politics and Campaign Technology back in 1972. It was one of the first courses on how to run campaigns. So I know a little bit about this. Never in modern history has there been such a downbeat election as the 2012. Who cares? There's no excitement in the air. People really could care less about who's running. Go back to 2008, it was a whole different atmosphere.
It's because they now know it's a fraud. Correct me if I'm wrong. The illusion has never been more revealed. Congress has a 9% approval rating. People know they're bought and paid for by the same mega banks. Is that what's happening?
You got it. You nailed it. No one cares. It's the presidential reality show, and people are tuning out. So my election campaign, if you will, is stay home, don't vote. If 40% or less of the people don't go to the polls, we could call this an illegitimate election, because after all, we have illegitimate candidates representing us, whether it's Obama or Romney. And here's another thing. Go back in time. Do you know what Obama's approval rating is today? It's about 46%, 43, 46. Do you know what, at the same time during his reelection campaign, Dwight D. Eisenhower's was? 72%. And Dwight D. Eisenhower wasn't on the campaign trail. He was back in the White House. You name me any CEO, whether it's yourself, me, anybody that runs a business, could you imagine being away from your business all of the time as the nation is going to crap? It's the biggest business in the country, and this clown's out there shaking hands, rallying support, and raising money. He's never in the White House.
And going on all these different TV shows, like The View and the rest of it, hamming it up with people. The truth is they're total puppets. And Jesse Ventura's new book, Democrats and Republicans, breaks it down for you and I and most people. We're like, yeah, we already know that. Tell us something we don't know. But for the general public, there's still 30, 40, 50%, depending on how you look at it, that do buy in to the structure. What do you expect for them to do as things just continue to slide into this depression? And if Mitt Romney gets in, if he doesn't change things, or do you think it's going to be Obama?
Well, we believe it's going to be Obama. We've said this back in October in 2011. We came out with our forecast. I mean, anything could happen, but we see it as Obama again. I mean, Romney, I mean, this guy's stiff, he's colorless, he's humorless, and he has what is he going to get him on? He's not going to get him on health care because there's Romney care. He doesn't have any economic plan. His only economic plan is don't tax the very rich. Yeah, I mean, no, he's not going to, we don't see him going to anywhere. And if he does get in, what's he going to do? More of the same. It's a two-headed, one-party system. As I've said before, it's like electing somebody as the president of a country club. They're arguing, should we expand the tennis courts or build another swimming pool? I mean, these guys are totally out of touch with the people. So it's not going to make any difference who gets in. But here's where we see it going. First of all, Obama is going to blame what's going on in Europe as the problems for the United States. The prostitutes will continue to buy it. Number two, it's war talk. Oh, do they love war talk? I loved Hillary Clinton the other day coming out against Syria for shooting down a Turkish plane that went into its territory. And that's the way it was first reported. How brazen the act is. What an inhumanitarian regime the Assad government has. Hey, Hillary, you want to talk about brazen and inhumane? How about starting wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, killing millions of people? Does that sound inhumane and brazen?
How about Libya?
How about Libya? Hey, Hillary, how about your husband? You remember the Wag the Dog episodes when he was caught with Monica Lewinsky. I didn't have sex with that woman. bombs away over Baghdad. You forgot that one?
Or
How
bombing
about
the aspirin factory with cruise missiles whenever some bad news came out, or bombing the capital of Serbia with DU and tripling birth defects. What's amazing is they're using al-Qaeda against Libya. They're using al-Qaeda now against Syria. And if your Cessna gets off track and goes over a military base, they shoot you down. They admit they're sending jets in from Turkey. Turkey's a NATO ally. They've said they're getting ready to attack them. They shoot it down, and Turkey's like, if your troops get anywhere near your own border, we're going to attack you. They're clearly trying to start a war. I'll never forget, it came out in the White House and Downing Street memos that Tony Blair and Bush met, and they said, let's paint up U.S. aircraft like UN aircraft and have them fly real low and try to get Saddam to shoot them down so we have a pretext. I mean, that's exactly what they're doing here. And then they show one dead girl, don't even prove that Assad did it, and say, we've got to invade now. I mean, you're right. It's so ridiculous.
And that's how they'll get the people's mind off the economic problems, particularly in Europe. And so that's where we see it going. And again, you know, look at the facts. The Gulf of Tonkin, the psychopaths made that one up, never happened. Hey, how about those weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda? Hey, it didn't happen, but we went to war, stayed there for what, 8 or 9 years, killed 1 million people, ruined the lives of how many of our soldiers, and spent $1 trillion. So what? Hey, take it easy. And now they're going to go in, it looks like, into Syria. Here's a fact. When Obama was down in the polls, go back to April of 2011, when Donald Trump was on his case, all of a sudden we wake up on a Monday morning, they got Osama bin Laden. Obama's poll numbers skyrocketed up to 60% plus. It's the oldest game in the book, and they keep playing it over and over again, and the gullible people buy it. So what I'm saying is enough. We know this game. We've seen it before. And that's why I'm helping to launch with you and others the Second American Revolution. We have to change the system.
You're right. Gerald, I want to get into that. But first, I want to get into your prognosis on Europe, because I read the Trends Journal. I interviewed Dr. Roberts, who's also part of your team. You guys have been absolutely spot on what's happening. So have people like Webster Tarpley, Bob Chapman, God bless his and the rest his soul, have been so on target. And it's really amazing how on target we've been. But the guys actually found that article I just mentioned. Here it is, London Guardian. We'll put it on screen up there so I can give people the headline. Confidential memo reveals U.S. plan to provoke an invasion of Iraq, Saturday, June 20th, 2009. When this came out, leaked by British intelligence, the White House said, yeah, it's true, we're going to arrest whoever released it. And it was a plan, so this shows the UN was part of the scam. Bush told Blair the U.S. had drawn up a provocative plan to fly a U-2 reconnaissance aircraft painted in UN colors over Iraq with fighter cover. Bush said that if Saddam fired at the planes through an area that was illegal for them to fly, this would put the Iraq leader in breach of UN resolutions. And then they'd have the UN claim it was their aircraft as well. But don't worry, we'll just kill a U.S. pilot. Now, again, it turns out they didn't even need that. They just went in anyways. Turns out when they were telling Saddam, you're allowed to leave, they had jets ready to kill him if he tried to leave. And people say, oh, well, he's a bad guy. The CIA put him in power, for folks that don't know their history books. Here is an example, and I see this Turkey situation where they're flying their jets, F-16s, their pilots on suicide missions into their country to get killed. They admit they flew into their country. Here's another false flag. And instead of the head of NATO getting in trouble or the president of Turkey getting in trouble, no, the system treats us like we're low-grade morons and shovels this at us. I want your take on that. But again, Al-Qaeda on record, we did a whole report on it earlier in the show tonight, has been used to overthrow Libya and Syria, complete with Al-Qaeda uniforms and flags. And then I'm told I've got to have the TSA abuse my wife and children, or Al-Qaeda is going to jump out like a jack-in-the-box from there, behind the curtains over there, and is going to kill us all. I mean, how dumb do they think we are?
Well, they're plenty dumb. I mean, look at the people that are going to vote for Obama and Romney, and they're going to believe in them. So they know how stupid so many people are. And let's go back to the Al-Qaeda. Let's go back a little more. Remember that wonderful Mujahideen? You remember the one that Jimmy Carter started paying off to fight the Russians in Afghanistan, and that Reagan accelerated? Oh, you remember them. What's his name? Bin Laden's group. They do it all the time. When are people going to grow up and understand that you have a bunch of psychopaths, sociopaths, and losers that are destroying our lives? And why hasn't, you put up that article from The Guardian? Let's go back to the bigger issue. How come there have been no war crime tribunals for Bush, for Cheney? Oh, Condoleezza Rice is back on the news. She was a big hit at the latest Romney event. Yeah, that shows you how bad it is when someone like her gets press. How about Blair? Where are the war crime tribunals? You or I, like you mentioned, a Cessna goes out of their little zone, bam, you knock them down. Any one of us break the rules a little bit. Boy, the strong arm of the law really shoves it up to us. But hey, start a war for fake reasons, come up with the evidence how they were planning it. Hey, let's let bygones be bygones. Don't you know who Bush's daddy was? Don't you know that every one of these people, Alex, are better than you, better than me, and better than anyone listening? Except, of course, you trolls out there, CIA hacks, and a bunch of military losers that are waging wars that you can't win that are listening in. Other than them, they're all better than we are.
Speaking of that, there are literally hundreds of articles now where the Pentagon admits they're waging domestic psyops. They have accounts with YouTube, Google, everywhere, with fake posters. We've tracked the IPs on NFOWARS.com and PRISONPLANET.com, where the same military IP address is posing as 8 people having conversations in live time. This is computers. They now have computers. They admit they do, countering us. I mean, this is just outrageous. It's more than outrageous, it's deadly. Let's look at what's going on here. Look how many of our men and women's lives have been lost and ruined. All the families that have been touched. I'm going down the street the other day and I see a young man with his one leg, lost it in Iraq. And nobody, so what? So what? It was a useless war. Just like you said, sending these guys on suicide missions in Turkey, they don't care how many lives they expend to get off on their sociopathic trips. These are sick people, and they're ruining our lives. They're destroying this country. So let's look what's going on. There's no salvation in Europe. They can't save it. Tomorrow's a big day. Mario Monti, the technocrat over there that was supposed to save the day in Italy that came in for Berlusconi. Last week, he said, if they don't fix it, everything's lost. Well, Mario 3-Card Monti, we're going to prove that he was wrong because it's going to continue to go on. Tomorrow's this Thursday is a big day. There's going to be a lot going on in the Eurozone. They have to come up with another scheme to pull this thing out. What are they going to do? I don't know. Gold prices, by the way, are going down. People are saying they're going down because we're in a deflationary cycle.